Kris is a lifelong dancer, choreographer, somatic movement teacher, but she also has a background in marriage and family counseling. So she takes all of these modalities and combines them in her studio to teach sensual expression through grounded nervous system work. So it's very sexy on the surface, but magic is what's happening internally. So she's not just teaching women to dance, she's really teaching how to create safety, a feeling of safety in your own body. And so when I went to class, at the beginning, you open with an affirmation from your masculine to your feminine, saying, like, I see you, I've got you, you're safe. And I said it like with conviction, but it was all like intellectual in my head. But by the end of the class, like, I felt it, my body felt it. And this is the kind of revival that Kris is offering. It's a revival of inner trust, of embodied safety, and creating a space for women to feel seen so that they can soften and they can lead from a place of wholeness, and then it allows the masculine to rise and heal and reach their truest potential. So it's not just a revival of the feminine, it is a revival of healthy polarity. So that we can go out in the world and build relationships that are based on mutual devotion and respect rather than dominance and control. And at a time when so many of us are kind of operating in this default survival mode, this sort of transformation, this kind of healing, it's not just personal, it really is revolutionary. I'm so excited for you to hear her story, so please welcome Kris Ward.
So I'm going to do something a little bit different before I start speaking. I'm going to let you feel something with me. So I want to share what I did a few moments ago to calm my nerves. It's actually a practice I teach at my studio that we do right before we perform a routine together. And it starts with letting go of the need to impress or even be polite. So take a breath. Feel your feet, and foundation, whatever's touching the floor, feel your seat, where you're supported by the chair, and just sink, just settle in, get heavier, get weightier in your base. And go ahead and close your eyes down. Now I want you to bring to mind how it feels in your body when there's big pressure to perform. So you really want to get something right. You're afraid to get it wrong, and there's this attachment to approval, control, and security. Conjure it up, amplify it, make it bigger, exaggerate it. Track it somatically in your body. Somatic just means of the body. So just locate where it lives and how it shows up and expresses in your body when there's pressure to perform. Take a deep breath in and shrug your shoulders up to your ears. Hold your breath at the top. And when you exhale, let the pressure in your shoulders drop. Let's do that a few more times together. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, let it all drop. This time, add a little audible sound to your exhale. Bring it up. Squeeze it, make it bigger. That pressure, squeeze it, amplify it. Exhale audibly. Yeah, feels better. So let your belly get soft now and feel held and supported by your own spine. Now I want you to conjure up the feeling of the opposite of that, when there's no pressure to perform. Like you're at home by yourself, no one's watching. You can be completely real, messy, human. Nothing is expected of you. You're enough as you are, nothing is required. So that shift that you feel in your body, the difference between pressure to perform and no pressure at all, you're able to feel that shift because you set the conditions to take the pressure off. You gave yourself permission to be off, not on. That part of you, that part that can be off, that can just be kind of flowing with life, totally present in the moment, was able to receive the gifts of the moment because nothing is blocking them. That's the part of you you're reviving. Not the one who pushes, but the one who receives. The one who doesn't need to prove or perform or lead or achieve or be on, but who just is. And in that easiness, there's oneness with all of life. There's aliveness, there's wonder, wildness, there's innocence, and unpredictability. In my world, we call this part of us that's so beautifully brilliant at receiving, this ooey young part of us. We call this Omega. And we do a lot of somatic movement and exercises to embody Omega's permission, freedom, playfulness. And we do that because play is the opposite of trauma. And while Omega is not gendered per se, we associate Omega with the feminine, and the two terms are often used interchangeably. So you will hear me do some of that today. Of course, we all have Alpha and Omega within us. They are the two polar opposite energies. We're yin and yang, Alpha and Omega, light and dark, masculine and feminine, hard and soft, lead and follow. Alpha is attention and energy out. Omega is attention and energy in. So I'm in the business of reviving the feminine. So yes, we play in this inwardly focused, soft, gooey space that is very focused on Omega. But as Jessica was alluding to, we work with and we embody both of the archetypes, both of the poles intentionally and synergistically. And I'm going to give you a little taste of this soon as well, but first, a little background on how I got here. So I started teaching embodiment not because I found it interesting, but because it was my lifeline. And I could feel it in my bones that there were other women out there who also needed this same lifeline. And after the birth of our daughter, who eventually needed open heart surgery, and after the collapse of the business that my husband and I ran together, I found myself in a deep, dark, very disorienting depression. We sold everything. We left our house on Island Homes, which had been my dream come true. And we moved cross country to Utah to live in a one-bedroom mother-in-law suite at my sister-in-law's house. And so, in all of that, I kind of lost my identity, or what I thought was my identity at the moment. I still taught yoga, but it was a far cry from running a seven-figure business and hosting international retreats and training and certifying coaches all around the globe. So it was more than a fall from grace. It was a free fall into the unknown. And what made it worse was that my husband, who's from Utah, was thrilled to be in Utah near his family. And I was like crushed, to be away from my family in South Carolina. So that tension was real, and it took its toll on our marriage. On the outside, I was fine. I knew how to function. I knew how to make the best of it and, be a selfless mother and a good wife, a strong woman. What I didn't know then was how to feel safe enough in my own body to feel what had been buried way down deep. What I was afraid to feel. What I didn't think I would survive feeling. So I didn't feel, I just survived. I got through the day-to-day, rinse and repeat, and handled what needed handled and called it good. But I was still not good, and I was terrified to face why. So fast forward a few years later, we moved to California. I was almost 3 years into grad school studying marriage and family therapy before I realized, oh, I'm not actually here for a career. I'm here for a covert mission. Operation Fix Myself. I have this internal plan, secret, that I could heal, understand, rebuild myself and my family dynamic without anyone ever knowing that I had fallen apart with it, without anyone ever seeing how dark and ashamed and how alone I felt inside. I would come out with a shiny new identity and a PhD to boot, and I would take the world back over. Do we think this plan worked? No. It did not work. So fast forward even more, and fires hit California. We have a son who has asthma, so he ended up in the ER many times, struggling to breathe. And we felt exposed constantly. And then COVID hit, and death and divorces hit my family. Anxiety took over my body. I had tremors and tinnitus and showed up with autoimmune red flags, multiples of them in my blood work. So it was not a good situation. I quit school. We did end up moving back to Charleston because we're here, obviously, but I saw not long after that move that no amount of therapy, no amount of self-analyzation, no amount of reading, studying, and not even a move back home could bring me back to myself. Because it wasn't my mind, it wasn't my marriage, it wasn't even my circumstances that needed fixing. It was my body that needed permission to feel. So yes, it was eventually movement that brought me back to my body, and it was slow, sensual, messy, non-performative movement. And that movement allowed me to feel. Once I was able to feel, that put me in a space where I could begin to reclaim myself. And that reclamation became my life's work. And that eventually became Soul Wild. You've probably heard the adage that you need to feel it to heal it, that our issues live in our tissues and they're waiting on us. They're waiting to be felt, acknowledged, processed, and released. Well, that was exactly what I found to be true. What I didn't know at the time was that I wasn't just falling apart. I was undergoing an internal earthquake, and one that was long overdue. And I've come to learn that most of us are long overdue for an internal earthquake. And I think the kind is the kind that shakes loose pieces of our identity that no longer fit, that forces us to shed skin that we've outgrown, that demands the death of one version of us so that the next version can finally breathe. So what I thought was a breakdown was actually the beginning of a revival. It was the coming back home to the feminine, not through talk therapy, but through sensation, movement, and safety. And that's what we do inside Soul Wild. So let's talk about what Soul Wild is. It's not just a studio, it's a self-reclamation space. It's where women come to remember who they are, not by solving themselves, but by softening into sensation. We call this space our own permission field, and that comes from a Rumi quote that is a favorite of mine. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. That's how it feels in the space. It's permission granted across the board to breathe louder, move slower, and open wider. Overthinking is underfeeling, and the body lives in the truth. So we're like constantly eating with and excavating that truth. One of our mottos is make a rest on purpose because it's medicine. It's how we come back home to the wisdom of our soft bodies and trust in knowing that they carry in every cell. So we listen, we let our bodies lead, we set down our roles, our resumes, our image management, who the world told us to be. And we very bravely explore the truth of who we are. We feel for what's alive in us and what wants to be expressed and what wants to come through. So it's nervous system repatterning, and it's unraveling the reflex to hold it all in. So yes, it's a workout, but it's mostly a reclamation of our hits, our hunger, our power. So we practice on these custom design mats that it took me forever to have made. I actually had one made for myself when I was in my healing practice. I was like, I just need a furry mat that I can just move around on. I just need a mirror, just leave me alone. And that was me in my process. So that's where these come from. The top layer is a sensory mat, and then underneath that we have a foundation mat, which is a 6-foot round yoga mat. It gives us 360 degrees of movement freedom to be really dynamic in our flows. We dim the lights, we drop expectation, and we move to music that moves your soul, not just your hips. We sling and we slither, we shake and we undulate, we melt, we moan, we move in ways that discharge trauma, unlock eros, and build esteem from the inside out. We don't dress to perform or impress, we dress so that our outsides match our inside. So it changes a lot. I come in there some days, no makeup on, hair in a top knot, just frumpy hotness. And the next day, it's a relentless seductress. So it's really about coming as you are. Sometimes we practice in lingerie. Women will come in and whatever they want, which I was inspired by pole and burlesque gave me this whole idea. I saw the freedom in that community of the women just not caring at all how others saw them. It was about them and how they felt in their own skin. But we practice letting our cheeks hang out, to practice being seen and loved by our own eyes in the mirror, by our own inner alpha. So the result of all of this is deep healing, as you can imagine. It's deep forgiveness. And there's more freedom, there's more aliveness. And this is not just in the studio, this practice translates, you might imagine, translates to better sex, and more confidence, better communication, clearer boundaries, more creativity, and more intimacy, and a lot less anxiety. I can do it again and again when women just stop waiting to feel sexy, to feel safe, to feel connected, to feel powerful. They just step into it, embody it, become it. So here's the real magic. We work with two core energies in a class, right? Alpha and Omega. Alpha is the leader, the one who holds, directs, penetrates. Again, alpha is attention, energy out. It's the embodiment of trustworthiness. So think coherent field, unflappable witness, and protector. Omega is the follower, not because she's weak, but because it's her nature to delight in receiving, in being moved, and connecting with all that is. She delights in being held and directed and witnessed. She feels, expresses, and surrenders. Again, she is attention and energy in. She is the embodiment of radiant love. So it's about being connected to all of life, being in ecstatic union and motion. So the polarity is what happens when these two dance together. They're complementary opposites, they fit together like puzzle pieces. And what brings the fire is the difference. We don't want them to be the same. That would be resonance, that would kill polarity. We actually want to highlight the differences. So our culture teaches us to value only alpha, being driven, being productive, being in control. But that's how we burned out, dried up, and forgot what it's like to be turned on by life. Most women reside in alpha by default because they had to, because Omega hasn't felt safe and for good reason. Both men and women live in a chronic state of hypervigilance where we're always on. And we know what that does to the nervous system. It ages us, it numbs us, it disconnects us from our truth, and it kills polarity. At Slow and Wild, we reintroduce and embody Omega not as a performance, but as a power, as a balance, as a restoration and a reclamation. But we get intimately familiar with and work with Alpha too, to understand and work with both energies and get them to work together. That is the key piece. We teach women how to trust their own inner Alpha so that Omega can relax. And that eventually spills out to the external. So women start trusting men more. We start trusting the way that we interact with alpha energies, not only within ourselves, but without, in our relationships, in the bedroom, in the boardroom. When I work with couples privately, we focus on restoring polarity. We take turns being clear roles. We have clear consent and clear agreement. We explore when to lead, when to follow, and how doing both consciously, opposite one another, brings back the spark. But remember, polarity isn't about gender. We all have both polarities in us. So it's about flow and electricity. Electricity is what makes you feel alive, and that aliveness is the revival. Yes, we work through women mostly, but it translates and gets through to the men and they get all the benefits as well. The body is the portal, and polarity is the path. So, I want to give you a little taste now. Would you like to feel this in your bodies? Yes. Right. So, close your eyes again. And just imagine you're on one of these sensory mats lying on your back. And you can spread out and you can take up space and completely relax all of your muscles. In yoga, the back body is representative of alpha or the masculine. So give all your weight to your back body, sink into your back body. The front body is the feminine or Omega. Soften your front body, melt into gravity, relax your face, your jaw, your belly. Relax your hands and feet, your thighs, your pelvic floor. You can do this part of it if you want physically, or you can just imagine it. But place your hands on your body and press downward. Let your hands be a firm presence. It's a firm pressing down. And you can squeeze a little bit with your fingertips in your hands. Send a message from your alpha to your Omega through your hands into your body. I've got you. I see you. You're safe here. I'm going to hold all of you. It is my honor and privilege to witness and love all of you. You send a message back from Omega to Alpha. I feel you. I trust you. Thank you. Graciously receive the gift of presence and holding. These two energies will now work and flow together playing in clear roles, giving the right power over to each other, feeding each other. This restores synergy and safety, and it is how we begin every class. The ratio of dance to yoga varies, as does the ratio of choreography to freestyle to movement, but the goal is always the same. Let go, brain off, body on. Discover what's alive in you, reach truth, confront what binds you gently, lovingly, compassionately. Say hello to it, meet yourself where you are. Spoil yourself with the exquisite attention of your inner alpha. And treat your inner alpha to the gorgeous, vulnerable openness of Omega. This is how we reclaim what was lost, or maybe what we never really experienced, but always longed for. And this is what builds the field of esteem. It creates inner calm and clarity about what works for us. This is not the kind of esteem you get from money, status, or followers, but the kind that no one can take away. So, before we close, I just want to say thank you for listening, feeling, and being willing to go there with me. If something stirred in you today, if a part of you recognized yourself in something you heard today, I want you to know the door is open. When you subscribe to our newsletter at stonewallstudios.com, you'll get to take your first class free. But, full disclosure, the door isn't open for too much longer. On August 1st, we are transitioning to become a private studio. No more open enrollment, no more drop-ins. Everyone applies, is vetted, and vouched for, kind of Fight Club style. And you can imagine why this is the right step for us. It's less about exclusivity. It's more about protecting the sacredness of the sisterhood and what unfolds in our permission field. We're making it safer and easier to go deeper and be even truer. So, SlowandOneStudios.com, you can take your first class before August 1st, and bring your friends. And now, let's open the floor. I want to connect with you guys and hear what landed with you, what's stirring in you. So, we can look up for Q&A.